You step outside into your backyard, balcony, or small garden space. You look around at your plants, and no matter how hard you try, you can't escape the same problem. Your garden just doesn't get enough sun. Nothing will grow here. I need a sunnier yard to grow food. Shade means no harvest. But here's the secret. A low-light garden isn't dead space. It's a hidden opportunity. Because while most people try forcing sun-loving plants into the shade and fail, experienced gardeners know the truth. Some of the best, tastiest, and easiest fruits and vegetables actually love low light, partial shade, or even deep shade. And today, you're about to discover 10 shade-loving fruits and veggies that grow like magic where the sun barely shines. If you have a shady backyard, a balcony that only gets morning or evening light, or a garden tucked between buildings, this is your list. Let's begin. Number 1. Raspberries and blackberries, shade-tolerant cane fruits. Many gardeners are shocked to learn that raspberries and blackberries, two of the most popular berry crops, are naturally adapted to grow in partial shade. You might imagine them growing in open, sunny fields, but in the wild, cane fruits thrive along forest edges, under taller trees, or in clearings where sunlight filters softly through branches. This means they are perfectly suited to gardens that receive morning sun, light shade, or only a few hours of brightness each day. Shade actually improves the growth and fruit quality of many cane fruit varieties. The leaves stay healthier and more hydrated because they're not constantly fighting intense heat. The fruit itself develops a deeper color and richer sweetness when ripening happens slowly in cooler conditions. Too much direct sun can cause sunburn on the berries, shriveled drupelets, or dry foliage, but shade prevents all of these problems. The ground stays moist longer, the canes stay firm, and the overall plant becomes more productive for a longer season. Raspberries and blackberries do need some light, ideally gentle morning sun or filtered daylight, but they absolutely do not require full sun to produce an impressive harvest. In partially shaded yards, they often fruit longer into the season because the cooler conditions reduce stress and extend the plant's natural production cycle. For gardeners dealing with tree shade, building shade, or limited balcony light, cane fruits can become one of the easiest and most rewarding berries to grow. If you've ever dreamed of harvesting fresh berries but thought your yard was too shaded, raspberries and blackberries might just become your new favorite crop. They're hardy, generous, and perfectly adapted to the gentle light conditions that most fruit plants struggle with, making them a top choice for turning low-light spaces into productive, fruit-filled gardens. Number 2. Blueberries, a fruit that thrives in partial shade. Blueberries are one of the biggest surprises in the world of shade gardening. Because while most people assume they need strong, direct sunlight to produce fruit, the truth is that many blueberry varieties naturally prefer partial shade, especially during the hottest parts of the day. In the wild, blueberries commonly grow along the edges of forests, beneath taller trees, or in areas where the sunlight filters softly through branches. This dappled, indirect light is exactly what keeps them healthy and productive. Harsh, direct afternoon sun can actually stress blueberry bushes, causing their leaves to scorch and their soil to dry out too quickly. But in partial shade, blueberries thrive with vibrant foliage, stable growth, and impressive fruit production. Shade plays a major role in helping blueberries maintain the acidic soil they love. Cooler, protected soil conditions prevent nutrients from leaching away and help maintain moisture levels, which blueberries absolutely depend on. Their shallow root systems benefit enormously from the cooler temperatures of shaded locations, allowing them to grow broader, stronger root networks. With consistent shade, the plants develop larger, healthier leaves that support better berry formation. The berries themselves often become sweeter because slower ripening allows natural sugars to accumulate over time. When blueberries are grown in bright, indirect light rather than blazing sun, the result is fuller harvests, juicier berries, and plants that stay vigorous for years. If your yard is shaded by trees, if your balcony only gets morning light, or if your garden sits behind a structure that blocks the sun, blueberries can actually become one of your most successful and forgiving fruit crops. In many cases, blueberries planted in shaded areas outperform those planted in open sun, especially in warm or dry climates. People with low-light gardens are often shocked to discover that blueberries love the very conditions that many other fruits dislike. With just a few hours of filtered or soft light each day, blueberries can become a signature plant in your shade garden, producing bowl after bowl of sweet, delicious fruit. 3. Strawberries, the shade-tolerant fruit surprise. Most people assume strawberries require strong, direct sun all day long. It's one of the most widespread gardening myths. The truth is actually far more interesting. Strawberries can thrive beautifully in partial shade, and in many situations, they produce even better there than they do in full sunlight. In hot climates especially, strawberries struggle under intense UV rays. Their berries burn, their leaves dry out, and their soil loses moisture too quickly. But when strawberries are grown in light shade, they stay cool, hydrated, and far less stressed. This environment allows them to ripen more slowly, resulting in berries that are noticeably juicier, sweeter, and more flavorful. Shade provides several natural benefits for strawberries. The reduced heat keeps the berries from scorching and helps maintain healthier foliage, lowering the risk of fungal diseases. The soil retains moisture longer, which is essential because strawberries have shallow root systems that dry out easily. And because the berries ripen at a slower pace in low light, they often develop a richer flavor profile compared to berries grown rapidly in direct sun. Many gardeners who switch their strawberries into partial shade are shocked at how much better their harvest becomes. Strawberries can produce reliably with just 3 to 4 hours of soft, indirect sunlight per day, making them an excellent choice for shaded yards, balcony gardens, or areas along fences where the light is limited. They grow wonderfully under taller plants, beneath fruit trees, and in the protective shade cast by buildings. They are also ideal for hanging baskets in shaded or partially shaded spaces, where the plants receive mostly indirect light but still produce a generous crop of fruit. If you've ever avoided growing strawberries because your garden doesn't get enough sun, you'll be thrilled to discover that they're one of the few fruits perfectly suited to the cool, gentle light of a shaded garden. 4. Green onions and chives. Almost zero sun required. Green onions, scallions, and chives are absolute champions when it comes to growing food in the shade. They require almost no direct sunlight to thrive, which makes them perfect for gardeners dealing with morning shade, evening shade, dappled light beneath trees, shaded balconies, or even low-light indoor windowsills. These plants grow naturally in cool, soft light environments, and instead of struggling in shade, they actually produce more foliage when protected from intense sunlight. The result is greener, taller, juicier stalks that continue growing throughout the season. One of the biggest advantages of growing green onions and chives is their ability to regenerate quickly after harvesting. You can cut them again and again, and they will continue to grow back with little effort. They tolerate crowding extremely well. Even if you plant them close together in small containers, they will still flourish. Their low-maintenance nature makes them ideal for beginners, apartment gardeners, or anyone who wants fresh food without dealing with complicated care routines. Because they don't rely on strong sunlight to produce edible foliage, green onions and chives are incredibly forgiving. You can place them in parts of your garden where other crops would never survive, and they'll still deliver a continuous, dependable harvest. They require minimal watering, resist most pests, and stay productive even in cooler temperatures. If you're starting your shade garden or want a worry-free plant that practically grows itself, green onions and chives are the perfect choice. They transform even the dimmest, most overlooked corners into productive spaces where fresh, flavorful greens grow effortlessly. 5. Peas, a cool season, shade-loving producer. Peas are one of the most rewarding crops you can grow in a low-light garden, and they genuinely thrive in cooler temperatures and soft, gentle light. Unlike many vegetables that struggle when sunlight is limited, peas actually prefer partial shade because it protects them from the harsh conditions that usually cut their productivity short. When peas grow in shaded or filtered areas, they avoid the heat stress that often causes them to wilt, dry out, or stop producing early in the season. Shade keeps the vines cool and comfortable, allowing them to stay productive for a much longer time than they would under strong, direct sun. This means sweeter pods, healthier foliage, and extended harvest periods. Peas are perfectly suited for environments like north-facing gardens, patios with limited sun, narrow side yards that only catch a bit of morning light, or spots where buildings or trees block the sun for most of the day. They need only about 4 hours of gentle light to grow a full harvest, something very few other vegetables can manage. Even better, peas adapt extremely well to container gardening. You can grow them in large pots on shaded balconies or patios, where they'll climb trellises or strings with ease and still produce abundant pods. In shaded conditions, the plants develop stronger tendrils because they aren't stressed by direct heat, and the pods turn out sweeter since slower ripening boosts their natural sugars. If you're looking for a productive, easy, shade-compatible crop, peas are one of the most reliable options you can plant. 6. Carrots, surprisingly shade-flexible. Most people assume carrots need full sunlight because they're a root vegetable, but the truth is that carrots are incredibly flexible and often grow even better in partial shade. Carrots naturally prefer cool soil conditions, and shade helps maintain exactly that environment. When carrot tops are protected from harsh sunlight, they stay healthy and vibrant instead of becoming sunburned or stressed. The cooler temperatures supported by shade encourage the roots to grow longer, straighter, and more evenly shaped. In fact, many gardeners find that their best, most tender carrots come from garden beds that receive only morning sun or where trees filter the light throughout the day. Shade is especially beneficial because it keeps the soil moist longer, reducing the chance of cracking, splitting, or woody textures. Carrots grown in shaded or partially shaded areas develop a rich, sweet flavor since they grow slowly in cool, stable conditions, and slow growth is often the key to excellent taste in root vegetables. They adapt well to any spot with gentle light, morning sun and afternoon shade, filtered rays through tree canopies, or even tucked against the north side of fences or garden structures. Since the edible part grows underground, carrots simply don't need intense sunlight to thrive. Partial shade makes them tender, smooth, and delicious. And it prevents the quick drying and overheating that often ruins carrots grown in full sun. If you've avoided growing carrots because your garden seems too dim, you'll be pleasantly surprised at how beautifully they perform in low-light spaces. 7. Leafy greens, the kings of shade. When it comes to gardening in low-light areas, leafy greens are without question the most reliable and forgiving crops you can grow. In fact, many gardeners are surprised to learn that leafy greens don't just tolerate shade, they actually prefer it. Spinach, lettuce, Swiss chard, arugula, kale, mustard greens, and similar leafy crops all grow far better in part shade than in strong, direct sunlight. The reason is simple. Shade keeps their leaves cool, tender, and full of moisture. When exposed to intense sun, leafy greens quickly become bitter, tough, and prone to bolting, which is when the plant shoots up a flower stalk and stops producing edible leaves. In a shaded environment, however, the soil stays cooler and damp for longer periods, allowing the plants to focus their energy on producing lush, vibrant foliage. They don't need heavy sunlight to form edible leaves. They just need consistent moisture and moderate temperatures. Because of this, many commercial growers intentionally provide partial shade to keep their greens sweet, crisp, and flavorful throughout the growing season. What makes leafy greens exceptional is their ability to grow even where sunlight barely reaches. They can handle up to 80% shade, which means they will continue to grow in areas considered too dark for most other crops. Give them just a small amount of morning light, or even dappled sunlight filtered through trees, and they'll respond by producing beautiful, healthy leaves. They are perfect for growing along shaded buildings, under taller crops, in the cool corners of a balcony, or any part of a yard that receives brief or indirect light. If you have a spot that seems unfriendly to most vegetables, that is exactly where leafy greens will thrive. And once you start harvesting tender leaves week after week, you'll realize that shade was never the enemy. It was the secret advantage these plants needed all along. 8. Broccoli, a cool, shade-friendly powerhouse. Broccoli is another vegetable that surprises gardeners with how well it grows in partial shade. While its large, sturdy structure makes it look like a sun-demanding plant, broccoli is actually built for cooler, lower-light environments. This crop thrives when the temperature stays comfortable and stable, and shade is one of the best natural tools for protecting it from excessive heat. When broccoli grows in partial shade, especially with shade in the afternoon, it avoids the biggest issues that ruin harvests: early flowering, loose heads, and stressed, bitter-tasting florets. In shaded gardens, broccoli develops tighter, larger heads because it grows at a slower, healthier pace. Shade extends broccoli's growing season by preventing it from bolting, the stage when the plant rushes to produce flowers and seeds. When broccoli bolts, the central head stops developing, and the flavor quickly becomes strong and unpleasant. But partial shade keeps the plant cool and balanced, allowing it to focus on producing that big, beautiful head you want. The stems stay firm and upright, the florets become dense and crisp, and the color deepens into a rich green since the plant is never sunburned or overheated. Many gardeners are amazed to discover that broccoli grown in 3 to 5 hours of sunlight often produces better, more consistent results than broccoli grown all day in bright sun. In hot climates, growing broccoli with shade is not just a helpful strategy, it's practically a requirement. Full sun in warm regions can cause broccoli to fail almost immediately, but partial shade gives it the environment it needs to thrive. Whether you're growing broccoli in raised beds, containers, side yard gardens, or spots that only catch morning light, shaded conditions will reliably boost your harvest. If your garden struggles with low light, broccoli becomes one of those dependable, resilient vegetables that rewards you with a beautiful, nutrient-packed crop, even where other plants simply can't survive. 9. Beets, perfect for dappled light. Beets are one of the most flexible and forgiving crops you can grow, making them absolutely ideal for gardens that struggle with sun. While many gardeners assume root vegetables must have strong sunlight to form bulbs, beets prove the exact opposite. They grow wonderfully in partial shade, gentle, dappled light under trees, the cooler side of a house, or even in narrow garden strips that only catch sunlight for a couple of hours a day. In fact, too much heat and direct sunlight can make beets tough, woody, or cracked, which is why shade can actually improve their quality dramatically. When beets grow in low light, the soil stays cooler and more consistently moist, which is exactly what their roots need to become tender and flavorful. Shade prevents the ground from drying out and keeps the plants from becoming stressed, which results in perfectly shaped, juicy bulbs. It also encourages better growth of beet greens. Those leafy tops aren't just edible, they're incredibly nutritious and delicious when sautéed or added fresh to salads. In shaded conditions, beet greens grow larger, softer, and more vibrant in color because they never get scorched by the sun. Another advantage of growing beets in shade is that they are naturally resistant to bolting when temperatures remain cool. Bolting causes the root to stop developing and become tough, but shaded areas help the plant focus on root growth rather than flowering. Whether you grow them in beds, containers, or narrow side gardens, beets are one of the most reliable crops for low light conditions. With beets, you get a double harvest: tender roots underground and lush green leaves above, all from a plant that thrives exactly where many others would struggle. 10. Radishes. Fast, shade-happy root veggies. Radishes are one of the most underrated vegetables for low-light gardening, and once you understand their natural preferences, you'll realize why they thrive where many other root crops fail. Radishes grow quickly, unbelievably quickly, and shade actually helps them develop into crisp, round, flavorful roots instead of the tough, spicy, overgrown bulbs that form under harsh sunlight. When the growing environment is cooler and less exposed, radishes stay tender and mild, with a perfect crunch that gardeners love. Shade also prevents them from bolting, which is when the plant sends up a tall, flowering stalk far too early. Bolting ruins the taste and texture of radishes, but low light slows down this process and keeps the plant's energy focused on root formation. Radishes don't need much sunlight at all. As little as 2 hours of gentle sun per day is enough for them to mature, making them one of the most shade-tolerant vegetables you can grow. What surprises many gardeners is that radishes actually require consistent shade to form the best possible roots. When exposed to too much direct sunlight, they become hot, peppery, and woody on the inside, or even hollow, which is a common problem in gardens that get too much heat. But give them cool soil, consistent shade, and moist conditions, and they will reward you with picture-perfect roots in as little as 3 to 4 weeks. Radishes are ideal for tucked-away corners of the garden, shady raised beds, or small balcony containers where sunlight is limited. If you need a crop that grows fast and performs reliably, even in difficult low-light conditions, radishes are one of the best choices you can make.